My base, blue collar work, bro. I went and started
Brute force.
Yeah, I went and
base.
started mowing yards and stuff. I was like, this will prepare me for my battles to come. What's up, Playboys and Playgirls? Welcome back to the FloGrappling Show, aka the worst show on the internet. As always, I'm your host, Big Nasty. Over here, we got FloGrappling's own Joey Gilps. We got Uncle Reed right there, and then Big Slack Barrett on the ones and twos on the side desk. Today, we're gonna bring you guys another structured show that you've known to, come and love. I messed that up one time, and dude roasted me. However you say that phrase, known to come and love.
Known to...
No, that's it.
Come to know and love.
All right, we're starting out good.
Some dude fired me up in the comments, dude. Freaking flamed me in there. But
I am going to start dropping no to come and love in conversation just to see who calls me on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've started doing that with telling people, by the way, no offense, none taken. Just like also dropping the none taken for them.
Yeah, letting them know. hey, none taken.
I'm trying to welcome the two cats in a garbage can.
There we go. Get that one going.
That is a good one.
We're already off structure. I'm sorry.
Dude. Yeah. We blew
What's
it.
the reception been to our last podcast? We make a lot of people mad with our martial arts tier list.
Yeah, for sure. So a healthy mix of people upset. We have one listener, okay, Evolving Fist. Evolving Fist, if you're listening, that's his on YouTube, Evolving Fist. We don't hate Wing Chun, bro. I feel bad. He sent like a kind of a heartfelt like, why are you guys being so disrespectful to Wing Chun? You should respect all martial arts. We do respect all martial arts. So, we like Wing Chun too for its purpose in the martial arts world, but definitely a mixed bag of reviews. Some people didn't like where we ranked certain things. Some people said we should have branched out Kyokushin karate and the other types and whatever. But it's the definitive list, so it's like nothing we can do about it now. That's kind of like the bad part. Is like there's literally nothing we can do about it.
I will just speak up to like it's all in good fun, no disrespect to anybody. As the guy on the team, right, except for Samba or whatever. No, as the guy on the team who, just to be clear, I started in traditional martial arts. I started with traditional Okinawan karate.
Dude, you want to tell your New York karate?
I was like, I don't know, like if we should
history.
Maybe now, maybe we'll figure it out. Yeah.
Our first segment of this structured show. So to give you guys a quick preview, all right, we're gonna do a little weekend roundup, and then we're gonna get into a Pans preview to talk about Pans. Pans is going down this week, March 19th to 23rd. So make sure you're tuning in for that good gi action that you've known to come and love. And but first, we're going to start with our traditional martial arts segment by Slack Barrett himself. This is a Slack Barrett hosted segment. And I think you should tell your New York City seeking out a sensei story.
Sure.
I like
let's
give it up for
let's clap it up for Slash martial arts segment.
We should call this Take a Bow.
Yeah, right. No, for real. I love traditional martial arts. When I was living in New York City in 2015, I got into martial arts. And what's funny is now I know, like, geez, that's crazy. I could have been training in the Blue Basement, could have gone to jiu-jitsu, Marcelo Garcia, all that stuff. But that was like not even remotely on my radar yet. I have family members that trained both Tai Chi and Okinawan karate for like their whole adult lives, including teaching and stuff like that. So I started in like as traditional as you can get, right? And I found that incredibly valuable, super fun, super cool at the time. And yeah, when I first started, like I spent a couple months just starting to travel around New York City. I lived in Brooklyn at the time, so I would just travel around and go sit in all these different dojos. And if you're from New York City or you've been to New York City, or if you train traditional martial arts, you know that New York is kind of where every martial art has some kind of hub, like some kind of official U.S. headquarters. So like Kyokushin karate's there, the New York Aikikai for Aikido is there. There's all kinds of Kung Fu there. And it's actually like a really cool sort of subculture of New York City. So I would like travel around and just go sit in all these dojos all over New York City, trying to like learn about what the different styles offered. I ended up doing Okinawan karate in like a basement in a church in Midtown. So that's how traditional, my old school traditional gets. Like not even like a cool gym, not like the New York Kyokushin Center or whatever, but yeah, just like doing karate in a basement in like a YMCA gym underneath a cathedral.
On your when you were like about to leave, your house with like 7 other roommates or whatever your situation was, just friggin' geed up, long hair tied back in a ponytail, I assume.
Yeah. I was like total Sifu slack at that time.
Would you just be like, well, boys, time to go to church?
Straight up. Straight up. Yeah. And I used to ride my bicycle there, which was like a 7-mile ride or something from where I live. So I would ride a bicycle for about an hour from basically Queens into the city, over the Williamsburg Bridge, up north, up to Midtown, train, and then ride my bicycle back, like rain, sleet, or snow. So that was my like introduction into like martial arts.
What's the craziest thing you saw when you were sitting in on some of these traditional martial arts gyms?
Probably the craziest thing, and I'm not going to say names or whatever, but there's definitely a lot of like that stuff you see on like McDojo is very real. There's a lot of those like people out there that kind of have a little bit of a cult thing going on at the gym. There's a lot of weird rules. There's a lot of weird conversations you have with gym owners where they're trying to sell you on something or tell you some stories or kind of pitch you something. I definitely saw some weird kung fu stuff where there's a lot of like worship stuff that goes on sometime in any martial art, but I definitely witnessed that in like a kung fu setting where the teacher's just kind of barking orders at everybody and they all just looked kind of like bullied a little bit. It's just a very weird, thing to watch. A lot of like, there's obviously important cultural components, but there's a place that it can get taken where it's like, now you guys are just kind of creating idols and worship kind of vibes go on, which can be a little weird. But yeah, and then I eventually moved to the West Coast. I continued doing karate, got into traditional Muay Thai. That's where stuff got really real. You really learn like what fighting is, where it's not just punching air.
Wait a minute, I like breaking boards a little.
Yeah, right. That's where you learn to really get kicked in the face for real.
Yeah.
And then I fell in love with jiu-jitsu on the West Coast. So I love traditional martial arts. I love watching a quick, fun, and then we'll end the segment. A fun thing to go check out. If you go to YouTube, you can find them. I think it was probably the BBC or something did a series called The Way of the Warrior in like the 1980s, where they actually went and visited from a different discipline, a bunch of traditional like karate masters, kung fu masters, and they do these like full TV length, probably 40 minutes, docu-series kind of like showing like kind of like what we do, honestly, a day in the life of these people, how they train, their philosophy, their conversations, their culture. So go check out The Way of the Warrior, and I love you guys. That's
nice. And if you want to watch a funny traditional martial arts movie, watch The Art of Self-Defense by Riley Stearns.
Yeah, shout out to Riley Stearns.
Yeah, he's a jiu-jitsu black belt. He directed everything. That movie's incredible.
Movie.
One of my favorite movies, honestly, especially as a jiu-jitsu guy, because you watch it and you're like, oh, damn. There's a lot of jiu-jitsu tied into this.
The Foot Fist Way. You guys seen that one?
Yeah,
too?
incredible.
That's a great one.
Super funny, damn it.
I do also want to say that I started my jiu-jitsu journey with traditional martial arts as well.
Sumo?
Back when I was in third grade. Me, Rob Metz, a couple others, we signed up for Kiefer's Martial Arts in Rhode Island. Little less known in the New York scene, the Rhode Island scene of karate. Not as
part
good.
of the tri-state. Part of the tri-state.
And I quit after a couple weeks, but I did start in a karate gym back in the day as well when I was in third grade.
I was
an adult. But yes.
I was on my way to get a black belt. So.
Yeah. I was in, when I was a little tyke, one of my friends, Gage Riker, he went to a Taekwondo gym in Columbus, Kansas. We don't have a lot of stuff in Columbus, Kansas. If anybody wants to look into it, go ahead. But we did have a Taekwondo gym, and he was doing it, and I went and watched a class one time that he was doing because I was like staying with him or something. He had like, got to go to Taekwondo training, and I watched it, and then even as like a tiny little 12-year-old or something, I walked out of there, and I was like, man, this ain't it.
This is F tier.
Yeah, I was like, this ain't it. I'm just kidding. I was like, I gotta just my base blue collar work, bro. Freak, I went and started
brute force.
Yeah, I went and
base.
started mowing yards and stuff. I was like, this will prepare me for my battles to come. But all right, so give it up to Slack. Take a bow. The official traditional
martial arts corner.
Nice. All right, now let's get back to some real shit. What was going down this weekend in the jiu-jitsu world, huh? We had the Zapatero 100K tournament. That was a crazy one. I saw DeAndre Corbe ended up coming up out on top of that one, submitted Josh Cisneros in the finals with a knee bar. Huge win, obviously, for DeAndre, but that was an absolutely stacked bracket. I know you were watching it, Joe. Any main takeaways from the Zapatero?
Sure, awesome bracket at 155 pounds. DeAndre Corbe looks great. From standard, that was definitely the story of the weekend. I thought beat a bunch of tough guys, including the world number one coming in, Diego Pato, who obviously we all have a super high opinion of. But DeAndre has been a guy who has been creeping up and moving up and moving up. Won Nogi Pans, then won, did really well at Nogi Worlds, and then won North American Trials, and has been on this come up, on this come up, on this come up. To see him go through such a tough bracket that had so many tough guys. I think it was like 8 of the top 13 guys, supposed to be 9, but Carlos Enrique wasn't able to make it. Just an absolutely insane bracket, an insane run. Had a bunch of tough guys along the way. Ethan took third in that bracket. Haven't brought him up yet. Josh Cisneros making it all the way to the finals. Looked awesome. I know that Josh is really such a good bracket guy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I feel like getting him in.
That wrestler in him.
It is, man, straight up. So, yeah, getting him in for like a single super fight sometimes can be difficult, and he's had injury issues in the past. But when he's on, when he's clicking, he's one of the best guys in the world at any weight class that he competes at. Awesome tournament.
Yeah,
I think it's available on YouTube now. I think
I
so.
saw they were posting something like that where they were going to drop the stream or whatever.
Yeah, it just feels like had all the guys you want to see in that bracket. And yeah, I totally agree. Something tells me that like it still feels like we haven't seen the best Josh Cisneros out there. You know, we've seen so many good performances from him, but it still feels like he's just like kind of getting better and getting better. But yeah, I don't know. Do we all have to become eco guys now? Are we all in on eco now? I guess we are.
I saw PJ posted something where he was like, all the little drilling boys are crying themselves to sleep tonight.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, so I guess so. How far along in the book are you?
I haven't started it yet, to be honest.
So still pretty early.
Yeah, we're still getting there. You know?
Yeah.
Here's the problem: we leave it in the studio.
Yeah. Maybe we should read a passage or something from it. All up our eco knowledge just a little bit. How about direct learning? There's a cool graph right here too.
Sick graph.
Producer Josh,
clap it up for the graph.
That's the type of stuff you can learn if you read about eco. You can look at graphs. But yeah, direct learning. Learning is about attending to things rather than acquiring the knowledge that absolves us of the need to do so. Tim Ingold. So what do you think of that? Takeaways from that sentence?
I was going to ask you to read it again.
Wait, is that a quote that started the section? Or
what did you say?
Is that a quote that started the section? Or is that
That is a quote that started the section,
Okay.
yeah. So I don't know.
It's principle-based learning.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Plenty to learn. Obviously, DeAndre Corby, what those guys are doing out there is working. You gotta kind of say it at this point. DeAndre's killing it. I know. There's a lot of criticism out there of eco and whatnot, but it seems like it's a new thing. Everybody's got an opinion about it in jiu-jitsu these days. But DeAndre's out there winning stuff, so you got to pay attention to it.
100%. I think that even if you are not an eco guy and you think eco is silly for not drilling and XYZ, whatever you think about it, it's so cool that we're having very serious conversations about the best way to teach jiu-jitsu.
1,000%.
Right? That's a great thing because I feel like for so long it has just kind of been the same regimented thing that kind of came up, usually probably through like a judo system, I would guess, and then we kind of evolved our own thing off of that. But now that people are getting into this and starting to think about what is the best way to approach this so that students can absorb the most information in the least amount of time, I love that we're having conversations like that.
it is important too, like just for any skill learning, right? It's like, I'm new to jiu-jitsu, like relative, in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, it's like I've always just kind of experienced like, this is what jiu-jitsu class is. This is how you learn. And that is kind of the case even in some of like the top gyms in the world. It's not that different from the jiu-jitsu class structure that you might experience. But in a lot of other realms of sports and any other skills, just like all these different philosophies on how you learn things. Like a book I'd recommend is The Art of Learning by Joshua Waitzkin. That's like his entire like life's work at this point is like how to teach people to learn skills in a quick and efficient way. You got people like Tim Ferriss, it's like 80-20 principles, like all over the world, people are like having these conversations. It's kind of cool that jiu-jitsu is starting to like explore this type of stuff.
For sure. I think it also has like a trickle down effect even in like hobbyist gyms and stuff, where, I feel like more and more you see gyms now where they don't go full eco or like whatever, but they at least adopt some of the principles where maybe now a guy might show a move, you might drill it, and then you might do a couple of positional rounds and then go back to kind of, drilling something or whatever. So I think it definitely has influenced jiu-jitsu culture all the way through. So
are there any other like just straight eco gyms besides standard? Like, is it?
I'm sure they exist.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're the one who that I know of that presents it as that way. You know what I mean? I don't think I guarantee you there's a lot of gyms who basically are eco but just don't like necessarily brand it and kind of market it as well as Greg Souders does with Standard and like kind of what they're doing, is my opinion. I don't really know for sure though, but I guess if you are, reach out to us. If you guys are full eco or whatever, hit us up and give us the details on it. But this bracket had big implications for the rankings, right?
Exactly.
You want to look at these? Let's pull up the 155 FloGrappling rankings because I think some big movers here, particularly obviously DeAndre Corby bounced up from being ranked 7th to number 1. But what else is kind of some of the big movers here, Joe?
Absolutely. Josh, I would love if we get it up on this side screen, by the way, while we're here.
Just a little easier to see.
But DeAndre Corbe down at number 7, rises all the way up to number 1. I think that's fair. Diego Pato has had a great run at this weight class, beating guys like Dante, but I think ultimately, he drops that match, and there's so many top guys in that one bracket. It's not like DeAndre was coming out of nowhere. He was already number 7 with some good wins. The only win that would hold him back really would be the Ethan decision loss that he had on WNO, but Ethan was also in the bracket, so I feel like Ethan lost to Josh, and then Josh lost to DeAndre, so it's understandable there. And people just kind of get moved around. Cade Cedos is new to the rankings. Cole Abate ends up dropping, but that's just because he is focusing almost exclusively on 145 lately. We haven't seen him at 155 in a long time, since Aiga, I think. And so he's moving down, but that's the only reason why. Dante Leon, kind of the same reason, just he's only had 3 matches at 155 pounds, so he gets moved down a little bit because of that, and because his best win is Ethan, who dropped, and things kind of go out from there. What held Josh back was a points loss, I think it was points, to Gabriel Souza at a recent Fight Pass event. And so I was kind of sitting there for a minute before the finals, like, man, if Josh wins this, it might be Gabriel Souza number 1. You know what I mean? Because he had a loss like a month ago, and I would have to respect that. But DeAndre got it done, and I think things kind of sorted out pretty well from there. What do you guys think?
And just so like the kind of thinking behind putting DeAndre number 1 is, you beat the number 1 guy, you take his spot, keep what you kill type of a thing, right? It's like,
and he had beaten other very tough guys in that same day, right? He beats the number 1 guy, and he beats another top 5 guy, and I think there's another ranked win on there, and he has other ranked wins coming into this. So it's not like it's just a win over Pato is making up his resume, but he does have a win over the number 1 guy.
Yeah.
And maybe if it was like EBI escapes, you know what I mean? It was super kind of, you could, understand it. But this is a straight up decision win. He looked great the entire match. He almost took Pato's back at one point, or at least had a really good look at it. I think that was in the overtime. He looked awesome, and I think that he deserves this number 1 ranking. I have to update the pound for pound too. I don't think I'm going to put DeAndre ahead of Pato in the pound for pound because Pato still has all his work at 145 pounds to be considered. But I think it's super reasonable that DeAndre is going to be somewhere in that like 14, 15 range when that gets updated.
Yeah, no, I completely agree there for sure. It's like, man, when you obviously we all think the world of Pato, and he's had some incredible wins recently on who's number 1 and everything like that. But it's like if you beat the guy who's number 1, you kind of deserve to be number 1, So I agree.
What do you guys think about, I feel like I saw this somewhere at some point, the idea that you should be able to fight, like if you're a blue belt, you should be able to have like a super fight in the gym. Like say teams set it up, you can fight one of the purple belts in your gym, and if you win, you get the purple belt. What do you think about that? And that's just how belts go from then on. So like if you then lose to a brown belt, or you're the purple belt, but you lose to a blue belt, or you go back to blue belt,
You mean just like an ongoing, but it has to be an official match of some kind?
I think like you'd have to set
Maybe
it up
the
as
instructor.
like specific events. Like, all right, Saturdays
Right.
are like,
you got to put it on the
our
line
belt
officially.
kumite. Yeah, all these people have entered into the belt kumite, and if you take that guy out, you get his belt.
You got to call your shot.
And he
I
gets
challenge
your
this
belt?
guy.
I think so. Yeah, I don't know. It's just
Yeah,
an
that's
idea.
hardcore.
It'd be kind of sick though, huh? Kind of fun.
I feel like
I would have your black
I-
belt so fast, dude. I would, and the thing is, like, I would get your actual belt. Like, I would take it off of you and give you mine.
we just have to switch belts.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
just get
I
demoted.
take
to
your
purple
gi
belt.
while I'm at it, dude.
Can I give a serious answer on that?
Yeah, sure.
I think that too often belts are tied to or thought of as tied to skill.
Yeah.
Whereas much more often, I think they end up being tied to your level of responsibility on the mat. You know what I mean? Like you can go to a black belt and they should be able to like kind of generally like run a class or at least just be like very responsible. A brown belt less so, a purple belt less so, and a blue belt less so. fighting for belts super fun, and just like calling people out and calling out teammates and having big fights like that is fun for sure.
It would be fun. Dang, dude. So you're throwing it back to like why I wasn't allowed to play the drums in junior high band because my teacher said I wasn't responsible enough to be trusted in the back of the class. I'm too irresponsible to get.
I mean,
You agree with that teacher?
Your teacher sort of like nailed it, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, that's why I'm putting it back. Like, what were your thoughts on that? Did you feel like
my thoughts were that I was probably going to rip harder than Travis Barker, and my teacher, her name was Gay Phillips, took that away from me, dude. She took that away from me because I had to play the saxophone, and then I only did it for a month because it was boring. I didn't get to slap a little skin in the back with my friend Jace, and so then I switched and I got in Mrs. Brown's seminar class instead. So.
Could have been a different life you lived.
So just out of curiosity, is this belt thing something that people are attesting to partaking in, or is this just like
this is your idea?
This is just a thought experiment?
I'm pretty sure I saw.
I feel like this has happened. Dude.
Yeah, I think I saw like a comment or something
So you
about
could
it.
take someone's belt, or you just reach the rank? Because that's brutal if you have to lose your
I think
belt.
you lose your belt.
I think you got to lose your belt.
Tough, yeah.
I think you got to lose your belt, dude. It's like kind of like, exactly. It's like the number one place. You don't get to be number one if the guy beats you and takes number one spot. You're number two. But the other thing I've seen gyms do, and I think this one is like actually pretty sick, probably more reasonable, is like say you take like a group of 16 white belts and you put them in a bracket and like they're all like pretty much like ready to be blue belts, and you say the winner of this bracket gets the blue belt though. Yeah. I think that's a sick way to do it also.
That's how I got my blue belt.
Did you really?
In the gym.
You did a bracket?
Yeah. In the gym they had me fight like 4 other white belts in a row.
Nice. And you won?
I won.
Got your blue belt?
There is something like satisfying to that. It's like you like feel like you actually have to fight and earn a thing. It's like kind of like if you like when you get promoted for a belt, if maybe there's a little sneaky Shark Tank kind of gets thrusted on you, like, oh, we're doing a Shark Tank? Yeah, today you're going to get Shark Tanked. What's up? Like, show up. Like, see how you do. And even if you don't do that well, you have to fight the whole time. And if you're rewarded with something at the end of that, you feel like you earned it,
Yeah. I feel like each time I've been promoted, I just ended up just like go to the gym on a normal day, and then black belts keep asking you to roll and just beating the brakes off you, and it's like, all right, this feels weird. Like that's something fun. Feels up. Like I don't know. I've enrolled with you in a long time, and you just beat the brakes off of me.
You're like you're a slightly better punching bag.
Yeah. But yeah, all right. So there we go. There's some ranking implications coming out of Zapatero. Cool event for sure. Got to see a lot of cool names. Some other names in there. That didn't progress far, but it's always cool seeing them. I like seeing them in the mix, like Max Hansen, Cade Cedos. Definitely want to see more of those guys.
Julian Espinoza, who'll be on the next Who's Number One.
Right on, yep. He'll be facing Owen Jones. We recently linked up with Owen Jones at B Team and Nicky Rod, so some content coming out of that one, so keep your eyes out for it. I think there should be like an Owen Jones interview and a round already on the site, and we got some more stuff coming soon, so definitely cool stuff leading up to WNO 27 on April 18th as well. But you guys want to jump into Pans now? Get some Pans preview going?
Yeah, one of the biggest gi tournaments of the year, the IBJJF Pan Championships here down in Florida. Looking at the brackets, looking at the registrations and stuff, I feel like it's all the guys who we're hoping to see are in there. A lot of guys running and girls going for the Grand Slam. So there's a lot implications there. So yeah, one of the biggest gi tournaments of the year here, just about to hit.
Yeah, for sure. Talk us through this article, Joe, about some of the top names and where they got seeded, right, is what we're looking at?
Yep. This is an article where I break down division by division, everybody's draw, who I think has a good chance to advance at least to the podium, if not contend for a gold medal. I also broke down everybody who is world ranked, who will be at this tournament, world ranked in the gi, who will be at this tournament for the black belts, as well as just some other notable names who are included, like Kolabate is not ranked, but like Kolabate is obviously somebody you want to let people know is going to be there. Man, some of these divisions are absolutely stacked. Not rare to see 5, 6, 8 ranked top 15 grapplers at a single weight class in a single tournament. Like we were just talking about with Zapatero, that was 8 ranked people, and that was such an incredible bracket. Well, we have multiple of that. And I think that there's just going to be so many big names going for so much, and so many guys on collision courses, even just the color belt level. But this is just a black belt article, and as I was writing this, I was getting more and more excited about what was coming up.
A lot of good names we're going by. Yeah, definitely.
What division you guys want to look at first? I see Slack over there. He's speed running the article.
Let's do heavyweight. Let's go to men's heavyweight. I think that's going to be with 2 top 5 pound for pound guys. I think that has to be the money weight of the weekend. Adam Wardzinski, the Polish butterfly, coming in here against Gustavo Batista, world champion on world champion. This is a rematch from the Crown. No guarantee they make it there, by the way. What do you guys think about this bracket?
Yeah, I obviously think this one's huge. Obviously, you have Adam getting the 1 seed, kind of the current reigning heavyweight world champion. And then obviously Gustavo Batista coming in at number 2 makes sense.
You also got Roberto Jimenez in this
that's
bracket.
That's one.
Yeah, anytime Roberto's out there, you got to watch him. He might fight Gustavo second round here looking at this bracket. That's a pretty sick fight.
For sure.
That's so brutal to get highly seeded. You're a world champion, all that. And the first fight of your tournament might be Roberto Jimenez. It's so brutal.
Yeah.
Just this guy with so much momentum, so much just hit maybe the submission of the year, all that. I also think Pedro Machado, got to talk about him a little bit, as the 3 seed. He technically won this tournament last year. Felipe Andrew won it, but then there was a drug testing.
He beat Adam.
And he submitted Adam.
Submitted Adam last year. One of Adam's kind of lone losses in the last 12 months.
Mm-hmm. Last guy to beat him in the gi. Last gi tournament that he did not win before he went on his crazy run at Worlds and at the Crown and stuff. So I think that's definitely one that I'm circling as potential revenge. Is this Machado's time? Does he have his number? Is he going to stop this Cinderella run that Adam has been on? I think this division is awesome.
For sure. It's like, that's the thing with an event like Pans. Obviously, every match is going to be a really hard match for all these guys. Everyone kind of shows up for these IBJJF majors. I think on this bottom right side, Jose Jarima is a dude that I could see actually making a little run here, meeting someone like Roberto or Batista in the semifinals on that side. But yeah, definitely, it does feel like the big potential thing is like, are we going to see Adam versus Batista kind of meet again in the finals of this one? But they both have hard paths to get there for sure.
I kind of have a feeling like, man, just looking at this bracket, I kind of have a feeling this is the one where Adam stumbles. And it just creates a little bit more intrigue for Worlds.
It's definitely a tough bracket. Like there is kind of 3-4 guys here that could probably win. But yeah, I'm really curious to see, like, has Adam kind of really turned that corner where he's kind of head and shoulders above these guys? For a long time he was losing to Gustavo Batista, kind of consistently, and then really kind of got over that hump at the Crown. And so if they do fight again, like, does Adam really does he have Gustavo's number now? If he fights Roberto, like, has he kind of come around that corner and like I said, kind of really established himself as the guy here? I think we're going to learn a lot about kind of Adam and where he's at these days.
If he can win this, Adam has a really good shot at number 1 pound for pound.
Wow.
Like him, Pato, and Mika are all pretty close, all things considered. If he can come in here and win a bracket this good, that's really, really going to help him for that.
Yeah, it feels like we might not see a lot of Mika in the gi this year. I don't know for sure, but maybe he'll come out for Worlds or
the Crown or
even,
something.
Even Brasileiros, I could see him doing. He's definitely loves his Brazilian roots, likes performing for Brazilian crowds. But so far, yeah, we've yet to see kind of Mika in the gi. But kind of like what you guys are saying, Adam and Batista to me are just two dudes who currently seem unbeatable. Mm-hmm. Obviously, someone's going to have to lose, and like we kind of already said, like, they're going to have tough matches along the way. Like, Roberto's also on fire right now, just been kind of owning everybody. Roberto trips me out with, like, his weight and the divisions he decides to go. Like, at WNO, whenever he fought Elder Cruz at a light heavyweight match, 205, he weighed in at 186. And so here he is now competing in the gi at 208, and it's like, dang, I don't know. Roberto's obviously, he there's something he likes about it. I think we've talked about it before. Like, he must just like being faster, being more agile than a slightly heavier division. But that's still like, dude, whenever you have a 208-pound Gustavo Batista starting to hold you down with the gi grips, like, that is a tall order.
Yeah. So. It is kind of like the essence of jiu-jitsu a little bit, where weight doesn't really matter, I
also, sorry.
Until you're all really good.
Yeah. But I feel like Roberto's just kind of embodying that, where he's just like, whatever, I don't care what I weigh. I know these guys. I'm going to fight these guys. And like, so it is kind of the essence of it a little.
He could also just do that with medium heavy, though.
True.
Just be like, whatever. These guys are bigger than me.
But I was just going to say, he also kind of does that with gi and no gi. Like, we saw him at Atos a week ago, and we've got a video coming out soon with Kynan about Kynan's preparations for WNO. And Roberto was there training no gi.
All right.
2 weeks before Pans.
He's a madman.
Jiu-jitsu.
Well, that's exactly
100%.
it. He's got that sort of universal jiu-jitsu. He's always down. The weight doesn't. You shouldn't say it doesn't matter to him, because he clearly has a preference. But it's like gi, no gi, whatever. He's just going to show up and.
Yeah, he would also not have been allowed to play the drums in my junior high band.
Yeah. You and Roberto.
Yeah, just
Get
two
him off the
dudes.
drums.
Yeah, just can't play drums, dude. We do our own thing. What other divisions are looking sick though that we should take a peek at?
Sure. What else we have?
Middleweight over here.
Super sick one. Tynan back in the mix. Andy, chief rival, back in the mix as well. They're the 1 and 2 seed. There are some tough guys rolling this through this division, but it feels like anytime it's been Andy and Tynan on opposite ends of a bracket, that ends up being the final. And I just got to say, I have so much respect for Andy Murasaki because he could go up or he could go down. We've seen him at lightweight. We've seen him at heavyweight, and he's been in the world finals. He's world class at those weight classes. But he wants the smoke. He wants the biggest challenge he can find. That's Tynan at middleweight. He feels like this is my weight. I'm not going to run. And he's thrown himself right back in there. And for as talented as Andy is, you just have to believe the more cracks he gets, one of these he's going to break through and get that gold medal and get that win that he's been looking for.
For sure. I mean, like Adam Wardzinski's kind of the proof of that. You know, it's like you just keep doing the thing long enough, and eventually it's going to be your day. I think for this bracket, I'm going to point out two kind of people that if you're at home watching and you're thinking like, oh man, IBJJF brackets are confusing. There's so many mats going on. What do I watch? Especially early on the first day of black belt, if you need a couple people to lock in on, especially in this middleweight division, I would watch Pedro Maia early, who could in his first match have Johnny Tama potentially. I'd watch him early. He's super sick to watch. He's going to do some cool stuff for sure. Johnny Tama, if he makes it through that first round and fights Pedro Maia, I think that'll be a crazy match. And then the other one is Rolando Sampson. Rolando always shows out, whether he ends up getting the win in the bracket ultimately or not. He's going to have some exciting matches along the way. So definitely like locking on these dudes as mat times. It looks like Rolando's going to go mat 10 Saturday at 2:02 p.m. So that's on Saturday, March 22nd. Tune in for that one and watch it. Rolando will definitely show some really sick stuff, some stuff that I feel like every time I watch Rolando, I'm like, oh, dude, I got to start doing that. Like, I got to do more of that game. That shit is awesome. So there's a couple cool ones right there. I definitely think Tarek also on the other side is one who he'll probably end up running into Tynan, but he's another sick one to watch.
He has a super tough first-round match. Alejandro Mariano of Atos, that guy who won Nogi Pans, beat Couch, looked awesome that whole tournament. True. Wallace and Souza, who is also Atos, is on the other side of the bracket. Nogi world champion. He had a great run last year. Tapped Francisco Lowe, had some great leg locks. I think that – who else is in this bracket? Alec Balding, former ADCC Trials champion, seeing him back for the first time. Joao Menezes, who he won Nogi Pans at Brown Belt last year. I mean, there's just so many guys in this bracket who have done very impressive things and have such a good level. But then you see names like Tynan and Andy.
Yeah. It feels like, this is definitely, a lot of big names, a lot of great names in there, but it does feel like this is kind of Tynan's bracket to win, and definitely he's going for the Grand Slam, and he's going to have a hard road here to win Pans and keep the Grand Slam streak alive. But Tynan has looked not unbeatable, of course, but he's looked incredible recently and looked incredible at Euros. So I think definitely put a lot of eyes on Tynan as well. He's gonna have some fun matches, and this is a great bracket just in general here. Yeah, always love watching Tarek, Alec Balding there. He's coming back. Haven't seen him in a while.
In a minute, right?
He's been building up his YouTube channel. He's got a sick YouTube channel. Really good mind for the game. Johnny Tama, another guy we haven't seen as consistently, but you got to watch your feet around Johnny Tama. He'll break your ankles. One of those type of guys, but fun jiu-jitsu there. So this is just an all-time bracket, to be honest.
Alec has like 2 YouTube channels. He has his main one, and then he has a second YouTube channel where he does a lot of like jiu-jitsu reaction content, which I think is kind of cool. I think it's like an untapped side of the jiu-jitsu YouTube where reaction content on YouTube in general is huge. Like that's like some YouTubers are built solely on just reacting to other people's content. Alec, he'll like have like a board of all the stuff he's gonna watch for like these like long live streams and stuff he does. He watches our show sometimes on it.
Nice.
He watched our Nikki Ryan best submissions one. He disagreed with some of our stuff, but that's a definitive list, Alex. So I don't no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, he'd be a cool dude to get on sometime too and talk about that stuff. But he did not support the nicotine use. I will say that. He said I don't know why these guys are doing that. They shouldn't be doing that. So
I agree. I
Yeah,
agree, Alex.
Yeah, it's not a good thing. But, so yeah, go definitely check out both of his channels. He has some cool stuff, some more jiu-jitsu content out there. It only helps, everybody when everybody's making content, more stuff for people to watch and everything. And Alex doing a kind of a good job of it.
And the fact that, like you guys mentioned, the fact that Andy, went a whole year fighting Mika, and then went a whole year just fighting Tynan. Like, it's like that stuff is going to make him so much better. And like, we're going to see it here eventually where Andy just makes a huge jump. We have, obviously Andy's been a prodigy since he was a kid, since he was a blue belt. He's been on the scene. He's been competing against the best in the world since he was a kid. So like, he is one of the most elite guys out there. But we haven't quite seen him obviously we saw him at the Crown get the win there. We haven't seen him fully kind of transition to that elite category and beat guys like Mika, beat guys like Tynan. And I think this is, obviously
No time like the present.
Exactly. He's wide open for it right now. So
yeah, it's like any of these brackets could be the time Andy does it and kind of changes the.
It will be big. It will when Andy does it. It will be big. So
for sure.
Can't wait.
All right, what else should we look at? You got featherweight pulled up here.
Yeah, I think featherweight is just always a great bracket. Anytime you have Diego Pato as a 3 seed, that's a pretty solid bracket,
Pretty
right?
crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
But that's just the way the points work out because he was a light feather, and when you move, your points diminish somewhat. But Isaac Doederlin, Sam Nagai.
Wow, Isaac back in there. Awesome.
Love to see that. Para world champions there. Sam.
Who's the number one? Sam.
Okay. And then, but Sam, that's not a great 1 seed because I think in the quarterfinals, he sees Kolabate, who just beat him a few weeks ago at the Austin Open. Now, IBJJF, opens are obviously different from these majors. People approach them differently. They're at different points in their training cycle where maybe they're more peaked, less peaked. But that's got to be in the back of his mind, like, man, this young kid, is coming up, and I just gave him a lot of confidence. I'm going to need to really come out here and come correct, especially that might be the first match of theirs on day 2. For black belts. I think that is an awesome quarterfinal, maybe the quarterfinal I am most excited for. Isaac in the mix, Sebastian Serpa, I think has Kolabate super early.
Yeah, first round. Sebastian Serpa versus Kolabate. That's a crazy one.
That's a super crazy one. Sebastian is ranked. He beat Isaac last year at Euros, which was an enormous upset at the time, the defending world champion at the time. Awesome bracket, full of really tough guys.
Yeah, this one's loaded with obviously top tier guys, but then a lot of guys who are just disruptors. There's Miguel Campos in there, Marco Mendez. Like, kind of the more you just look into the details of this bracket, the more you realize that this is a pretty insane one, huh?
Big time.
A lot of different styles of jiu-jitsu too. I feel like when you look at Cole, from Sam to Pato to Isaac Doederlin and stuff, everybody's got a kind of very different styles of jiu-jitsu.
For sure. Yeah, scroll back up to this top side. Who else we got in here?
Florian Bailey is a really tough Belgian black belt who I think is starting to get a little bit more respect and people are starting to understand how good he is, but is picking up really big wins on the AJP circuit. I think upsets are a little easier to come by in AJP. The matches are shorter and things can just happen a little bit quicker. But that's usually the first step for some of these guys coming in and then performing well under the 10-minute IBJJF scene. And I think that Florian is another guy who I would circle as like, maybe not this tournament, but the breakout is coming. He's going to, we're going to blink and he's going to be in the finals of one of these really, really tough events. For sure. We got Brian Mahecha in there also, Ismael Santos as well. So yeah, definitely a lot of really cool dudes in there.
Brian Mahecha versus Diego Pato is a good match if Mahecha can get through that first round.
For sure. What else you got pulled for us? Got the women's light feather here. Maisa Bastos, obviously still trying to continue her path for the Grand Slam this year. Got Brenda Larissa in there. Brenda's a beast. Shelby Murphy. This one's pretty stacked. Yasmin Castro, Tanara Victoria. So that's a good one too. What do you think of this one, Joe?
I think it was a great bracket. I think Maisa, number 2 pound for pound, but will take losses when she's up at light feather. I think that having her in here is awesome. A tournament we can get her at. She's actually only ever Grand Slammed once. So I'm excited to see her back in the mix. She'll miss like one tournament or something. But seeing her back in here is awesome. I'm really excited to see the semifinal between Brenda Larissa and Shelby Murphy. I think those are two of the most technical grapplers in the world. I think they're both just so impressive. Their guards are incredible. Their transitions are incredible. The speed's incredible. And if Shelby makes it to the finals, I'm really interested to see if she fights or not. Last year, she won Euros. She won Pans. She won Brazilian Nationals, all as a rookie black belt, and then didn't compete at Worlds. and Maisa took her spot in that Roosterweight. I don't want to say took her spot. Maisa instead competed in the Rooster division that she had been winning, and Shelby sat out. Those are teammates. And so I wonder, what are the backstage conversations like? Was it just an injury? Did she just decide not to compete? Did somebody, did she just say, like, Maisa's number 2 pound for pound, I'm not going to go in there and just get,
Well, I wonder why they're both up at light feather now then.
That's what I'm thinking. Now they're both here at light feather. If they make the finals, are they going to compete? I believe Shelby is still not lost under IBJJF black belt. Maybe an absolute. I think she lost one match in an absolute to somebody much bigger. But she's still undefeated in IBJJF competition. So I think that if she makes the finals and if she fights Maisa, that's really interesting.
Keep an eye out for that. Keep an eye out for that.
Definitely. Shelby Murphy and Mikey Musumeci were all over the last Fight Pass stream. You could just see him in the background, just like cuddled up. And it's like all the time. I was like, what's going on with these cameras where I can always see Mikey and Shelby, like no matter what camera
that's
they cut
in Mikey's contract.
But
if there's a girl hugging me, you have to be showing me.
Definitely. But yeah,
I wanted to kind of look at that lightweight bracket too. If we could pull up that lightweight bracket, just because as you were scrolling through, it looked pretty interesting. Mateus Gabriel is in there.
Mateus Gabriel is in there. He is back. Obviously, we know that he is super duper tough, but he's been out with, I believe, a shoulder injury. Like he had a shoulder injury that I think he showed up at Worlds in like 2023 with, and it didn't hold up, and he took more time off to try to get that taken care of. But Jackson, the guy who won this bracket last year, he's back in the mix to try to repeat here. I thought for a second he was going to transition out to Masters a little bit more because he is getting a little older and he's talked about that a little bit. But to see him back in here with the adults is awesome because Jackson always has like such violent jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean? Jackson really goes after people.
Yeah, but he won middleweight at Worlds though, right?
He won middleweight at Worlds, but he won lightweight at Pans.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Him and Mika kind of switched.
Gotcha.
Also, you got Fabiuri in the mix here. That's a sick one.
Yeah.
This is a super tough bracket.
Yeah, this is a sick bracket with Fabiuri and Mateus Gabriel's a big question mark, to be honest. Jonathan Ramos there,
Obinho.
Leonardo Souza, who went all submissions through Pans, through Euros. Got to talk about him. He had an awesome submission in the finals. This is a great bracket.
Alessandro De Jesus there.
Natan.
Yeah, Natan, and then Jonathan Gomez could potentially, if he wins his
Jansen's
first one,
brother.
could fight Natan. Yeah, definitely a crazy one.
Super scrappers.
What,
Bunch of scrappers in this bracket.
So you guys are heading out. Slack and Joe are heading out to Pans tomorrow. They fly out there. They're going to be covering everything. What are you guys excited for? You got something, Slack, that you're looking forward to, that you're going to be trying to get in the mix with at Pans?
I'm excited to just kind of see.
Be so funny to say no.
No, I'm excited to potentially see Tynan versus Andy again. I'm just really intrigued about that rematch, specifically because of what Reed said about just how much Andy is improving his game. And Joe, you mentioned it not that long ago. It's like in this tournament format, you just keep, if you're up there at that top final level on the podium, you just keep testing yourself against the same guys, and you start to pick stuff up, and over time, you start solving those riddles. And right after the Euros final, I was backstage at the warm-up mat, and Andy was already going over the mistakes that were made with Andre immediately after, like within 15 minutes of the match. They were already going through it. He was saying, so what happened with this sweep? He had my leg here, so I couldn't. Did you try this? I did, but I couldn't. They were already starting to like try to solve the puzzle. So I just love to kind of keep seeing when we get those rematches, just like, like you said, at some point, the problem will be solved, and it's always like really exciting to kind of watch them get to face each other again and again in finals. So if that happens, I'm looking forward to watching that.
For sure.
Or maybe the problem won't be solved ever. I don't know.
True.
That's also on the table.
That's always on the table, but what makes it fun to watch is that it can be solved. So
What about you, Joe?
Sure, and to backpack off that a little bit, I do think that we spend a lot of time talking about Andy. Obviously, Tynan is so incredible and such a great champion, one of the best in the world. But man, whenever Andy finally does crest that hill against whoever it does end up being, Atos is going to go crazy. Imagine, that crowd is going to go wild for that. I wrote an article yesterday about the brown belt adult women and why people should be excited for that and why people should check that out. And I think that this is a really generational class, and not just for one or two people. I think there's multiple people in this division, in these different divisions, who are going to be winning black belt world titles in short order once they get to black belt, which is probably by the end of the year. You have Sarah Galvao, you have Helena Cravar, Lillian Marchand, the Funegra sisters, Leticia Teixeira, who just moved over from Fratres to Atos. Bunch of very, very, very tough brown belt adult women who I think are generationally talented prospects. And that if you watch them, you're going to have a great time. You're going to see some awesome jiu-jitsu, and you're going to see people who are going to be very impactful at the black belt level very quickly. Some of them already are, right? Like, you know, Sarah Galvao's wins over people like Julia Alves, who I think won Pans last year, or won Euros maybe. It's going to be a great time. I'm really excited to see that. I'm really excited to see especially how the Absolute shakes out. Who from Atos enters the Absolute? Is it going to be Lillian? Is it going to be Leticia, who is probably going to win heavyweight? Is it going to be Sarah? Helena enters every single Absolute that she's in. What's it going to look like?
Yeah, I think it's really exciting to finally kind of see Helena arrive at the adult divisions, brown belt. We've seen Helena so much, and obviously she's made a huge impact on the no-gi scene, but I feel like we haven't really seen her against the top-level competition in the gi, and I feel like we're finally going to see this, and I'm not sure if that's 100% accurate, but I feel like we're going to see Helena in the gi against world-class competition, and we're finally going to see kind of like how she stacks up. So that's super exciting.
Yeah, Helena's in some ways like the new kid on the block in this division, this adult female brown belt division, because like Joe mentioned, the Atos Dream Team, they've been kind of holding it down for a while, kind of all the belts. Just we've been watching these girls come up and just kind of dominate all of the IBJJF majors, the whole IBJJF circuit. And now, Lillian Marchand, Sarah Galvao, they've been kind of holding down the Absolutes and their divisions. And now it's like, all right, Helena Cravar in the mix, the new kid on the block, looking to kind of disrupt things. So definitely a lot of fun matches to be had in those women's brown belt divisions. I agree with that one. I think that's going to be sick. But all right, there's a little preview for you guys. All right, if you want all the juicy little details, you got to go to FloGrappling.com. There's full articles breaking down everything, old matches. There's going to be new stuff dropping, as soon as the tournament kicks up. So make sure you stay tuned. You guys got any final thoughts? Any closing thoughts?
I'll add just one thing. Just this is my second time going to Pans. Compared to some of the other majors, they seem like a little more accessible for people to be there in person. That's not always the case with Pans, it seems. Like, it seems like there's maybe a little less people in attendance as far as the crowd goes.
It's a huge arena also.
It's a big arena, right? But you've got to watch Pans straight up. Like last year, Pans, there is so much good jiu-jitsu at Pans. So if you can't be there in person, you've got to watch it. Like, especially by the time we get to the weekend, it's just like, you saw some of the brackets. That's just like a couple drops in the bucket. There's going to be a lot of great jiu-jitsu there this week.
But if you miss it, make sure you tune into the podcast next week. We'll definitely break down a bunch of these matches, take a look at some of the biggest storylines that happened over the weekend, so you guys can stay up to date if you don't have the time to watch it. So definitely tune in next week for the podcast. We'll be breaking some of that stuff down and taking a look. But this weekend, or starts on Wednesday here. Yeah. So we're going to have all day Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We're going to have jiu-jitsu going on, FloGrappling. So check it out if you guys are training, if you guys are hanging out. Put it on in the background. I'm sure you'll see some good matches.
For sure. There you have it, March 19th to 23rd. Tune in to IBJJF Pans. We'll see you guys next week for another episode of the FloGrappling Show, and thank you for watching this one.